This is Kal Kat, the Kal Caster, and this is a brief review of Moon Knight episode, I believe, 4. The Tomb. Mark and Stephen and the girl go to the tomb of the Amatep, who turns out to be, spoiler, it's supposed to be Alexander the Great in there. They've hidden the conchu thing inside in a vault in the beginning. The conchu thing, the moon god. There's Indiana Jones type skullduggery mixed with a little bit of Tomb Raider. As they're trying to go around in there and meander the tomb, the Mark is upset that the other one is in love with the girl, even though it's the same guy. Their split personalities are going all over the place. Dissociative disorder thing. Yeah. Yeah, they're the bad guys after them, but it takes his time getting there. At one point, the lady's threatened by some sort of weird blue alien Egyptian creature. Well, he's broken into the mummy, and he figures that the voice of Anatep is inside the Alexander the Great's. I don't know whether that's actually I don't think that's a thing, that Alexander the Great was buried as Pharaoh, but they seem to act like the pharaohs are different from pharaohs that are buried in tombs, which is weird. Of course, the Egyptian conspiracy theorists would go on and say, "Well, why aren't the Great Pyramid have any body in it? Why the other ones don't seem to have a body in it?" It's because they were raided and took them. Actually, the Valley of the Kings has only 2 tombs that weren't raided, and that's because one of them was collapsed, and the other one just wasn't found. So grave robbers have been to all of them. A lot of the stuff ends up in museums and things like that. Yeah, so that's the reason. It's not like, oh, there's just nothing there, we can't explain it. No, they got to it. In this version of the story, though, it's a fictional world where Moon Knight has no powers because Khonshu was turned into a statue, and they moved the sky, which seems like a kind of a silly, so they can tell what he was before instead of just telling him. Doesn't explain how the bad guy knew where they were going. Like, and they just followed the bad guy to where he was going, and just appeared there. And it's also convenient that in the dark nobody can shoot anything, nobody can hit anything. Yeah. Somebody does get shot at the end, though. There's this very, very strange transition there with that Khonshu, the Steve Mark guy getting shot by the main bad guy. Shot by the main bad guy as he does his thing, and then he ends up in this weird world where he's in an asylum where some of the Egyptian stuff is still around. One of his personalities is in a coffin, and there's another one, and then there's the hippo lady at the end. I forget who the hippo god is, but she's at the end. Freaks him out. So yeah. The thing is that the Marvel version of Moon Knight, they're making him like more the newer one. The original Moon Knight from the 70s, he wasn't split personality. He was just a guy that was like Batman. In this version of it, they're doing DOD like he's a superhero because he has dissociative disorder. And that seems a little disingenuous to say, like, okay, yeah, he's a superhero because, like, why would he be a superhero because he's a split personality? Schizophrenia. It doesn't make sense. But Hollywood does that a lot. Yeah, sure, superhero story, but it's a little odd. So you have, he's only a superhero because he puts on the suit, and the Egyptian god gives him invulnerability, rejuvenation powers, like sort of a Wolverine crossed with Batman. Anyway, so that was the tomb. And that was my quickie review of The Tomb. And then I'll go on and do the other 2 remaining episodes. Probably won't get around to both of them today, but this evening, tonight. But tomorrow I'll get around to the last 2. The last one airs at midnight. I'm not going to stay up for that. I'll watch it tomorrow. Decided to review the last 3 all at once. I'll put them together just like I did the first 3. So that was The Tomb. This weird, well-lit asylum where the main bad guy is actually now the curator of the asylum. So it said they really like Shutter Island. But they made it look different. Oh, the girl's one of the patients too, which is weird. Or at least somebody kind of looks like her. Yeah, everybody's kind of the other. Yeah, it's odd. Oh yeah, the hero guy shoots him, falls into this water that's out of nowhere, and he gets transported through because he fell into the well part that's behind the tomb and goes on forever. And there's somehow, this magical place he landed in. Because Egypt is full of magical places. Yeah. And demigods are real in that universe. So sure, why not? So yeah, this is the 5th episode of Moon Knight Asylum, and tomorrow we'll watch the finale. Put all the 3 episodes together. Just put them together. This one, it's like a trip through his memories. Stephen and Mark in the story. Memories. Similar in some way to that Star Trek Picard thing with Picard's mother and stuff. Similar. Except in that one, the twist is that she wasn't really abusive. She was just crazy and also depressed. But in this one, the mother's abusive and blames the main character for the death of his little brother because she's crazy. She's insane. And she dies in some sort of like a similar way. They didn't say specifically. She's crazy. They're kind of equating PSTD and depression with dissociative disorder and manic depressive bipolar. They're mixing things up. And then he's a superhero because of this, which is a little weird and disingenuous. But there is a hippopotamus goddess in it who rides the boat on the river Styx, and they gotta get off the zombie boat and do that. That's different. That's something they haven't done really since those Brendan Fraser movies. Something like that. And the Mummy movies and the Scorpion King and all that. Something like that happened. The music is different. We have been back and forth between the doctor guy, who's actually the scales guy, and the hippopotamus lady, who's the other scales person. She's weighing their hearts. See, their heart came out there. Basically at the end of the story, the zombies get on the boat, and they basically drag one of them off the boat, and the other one, the scale is even at the end. If that means that somehow his imaginary friend was created in a what a twist, M. Night Shyamalan twist moment, that actually the other guy was the one that was protecting him. The British Derby guy is actually the one protecting the other one from the evil mother lady. It's really odd. She's not evil. She's insane. She's crazy. Well, she is evil if she's doing evil things, but she's insane. the Moon Knight has tricked them into the guy, split personality, into joining him after the battle with the bad guys. It's pretty obvious that he's one of the people that killed the mercenary father of the lady in the previous episode, and just didn't quite remember it that way. But yeah, but then the Moon Knight God makes him join him. It's odd that he would call him that though, the Moon God, because he's a. It's odd that the hippo was British too, because these are Egyptian gods. Why would they? Why would Knight with a K? Why would he even say that? Like he'd say like Moon Pharaoh or Moon Demigod or something like that instead. But yeah, the story's called Moon Knight because Dark Knight. Yeah, Batman. Because the original was a Batman overtake. The creators even said so. Yeah, it's a Batman. He's a Batman. And the whole DoD thing was added later in the incarnations after 2000 or so. So that wasn't the case in the earlier ones. So they just thought, oh yeah, there's so many incarnations of this. It's a split personality. It's like, no, that's not how it went originally. So yeah, I'm not sure how this would work. If it was a movie, but as a TV show, 6-episode TV show, it works so far. Eternals should have been a 6-part episode thing and not a movie, because Eternals was too long and drawn out. And it should have been a miniseries instead. No. But they didn't do that. So yeah, this is Moon Knight. Yeah. So the crazy mother blames the guy for death of his little brother in a cave accident. They went into a cave during the rain and he drowned. But yeah, the other personality tells him he was just a kid. He couldn't have done anything to save him. It's messed up. But yeah. Whereas in the Picard story, Picard remembers this weird scenario where he was playing hide and seek with his mother, who was nuts. And then he got trapped, but he got rescued. And then the father put her in a room while she was like having a manic attack or something. And he let her out. And when he let her out, she went and hung herself. Hung herself. Yes, in the story, in the Star Trek story. It's different than this one. But that scenario doesn't make sense because in this timeline, in Next Generation, it didn't happen that way. But, they just say too good to be old. Anyway, that is Moon Knight episode 5. Now, normally I'm a Star Trek person, but this is May the 4th. This is May the 4th, Star Wars Day. And I have just watched the last episode of Moon Knight this morning. And, yeah, so... Yeah, in this one, they do the whole Marvel heroes fight the bad guys thing. They try to revive. They got Mark and the other guy, and they're gonna revive him and go to the. Yeah, they figure out a way to revive the guy because one of them is in the Sea of Reeds. Allusion to the Sea of Reeds. But it's reeds instead of the Red Sea thing. And there's heaven, and he doesn't like it, so he goes to find his friend who's been frozen. There's other personality and pull him out, but strangely enough, the bad guy dude doesn't like the alligator god that he resurrected. She's running around causing trouble. Amit, yeah. And who looks like either a Tatamus from Canary Space or a Terrellian from either or. But it needed a scene in which the Terrellian went and kissed him on the face. No, that didn't happen. Then it would be a Terrellian. Yeah, like queen. There's a hippopotamus queen that helps the other one, and the bird lady. So one of the bird ladies makes her sort of a Nefertari flying bird lady out of the superhero lady out of the girl, the wife, and Moon Knight is resurrected because Khonshu is resurrected by the. Seems like the bad guys try to resurrect the good guy anyway, so it's kind of odd that they bothered. And if they were headed there anyway to go to Emitet and revive him, if they just, why did they need to bother? Why did the heroes need to bother with the sky and all that other stuff? If they were headed there, they could just follow the bad guys where they were going. That would have made more sense. But no, we had to have this like star thing and flying Moon Knight thing and fly back to Cairo thing, and at least we know that Cairo and the pyramids are next to each other, and they are. They're right. Cairo's right up against the pyramids, Valley of the Kings, which has been heavily plundered, and there aren't very many existing tombs. They've all been plundered, and the walls have been stripped and plundered, and pretty much all of them have been plundered. This version, they at one point they say the writing on the wall from the Hebrews from the book of Daniel, the tiki tiki thing, which is funny because make tibi was is Hebrew, not Egyptian, and it means the writing on the wall. The expression "the writing on the wall" means your empire has fallen. Yeah, you've been judged and your empire has fallen, but it's Hebrew. And the Hebrews proto-Hebrews are related to the Egyptians, so it makes sense. They made it sound like there were two different places far away, but actually Israel's fairly close to Egypt, and so they could, they were, even in Moses' time, they were a colony of Egypt. But they make it sound like, oh, it took years to get to Israel from Egypt in the Bible, but if they were wandering around for 40 years when it would have taken them 40 days, easy to get there. I don't know why it was 40 years. Anyway, so. But yeah, thousand miles or something. But yeah, so we have seas of reeds and things, and the guy rescues his other personality to go back through the gates of heaven and go find Khonshu and become Moon Knight and rescue the universe. And there's a big battle in Cairo. It's done in the dark so that you can't see a lot of what's going on because it looks, because Moon Knight's outfit in the daylight looks kind of bad, so it's kind of cheesy. And Mr. Knight's looks a little better, but it does look kind of cheesy. But sure, it's a superhero movie. You can forgive the leaps of logic because it is a comic book superhero movie. Unlike, say, a Star Trek movie where they're trying to be in the 21st century and the logic doesn't work there. In this case, instead of the 24th, 25th. This one, that we learn that there's a third personality avatar that kicks ass at the end. That the two of them black out and he kicks ass. We trap the bad guy. Essentially, the main bad guy, who's a judge bad guy, and one of the other judges died, and I don't know how that works. They're immortal. They're eternal. Yeah, they're other Eternals. So it is connected to the Eternals in the thing that said, watch the Eternals next, and I didn't want to watch the Eternals next. I've already seen it. Yeah, that movie would have been better as a miniseries. There's too much going on. That was the main problem with that one. Too much going on, needed to be a miniseries. And this is the flip side. This would have been better as a movie than a miniseries. It is funny, though, that some of the scenes were clearly shot in the Mojave Desert and outside of LA, and you can tell. You really can tell. It's like, wait a minute, that's not Egypt. There's a scene where this caravan's out there, and they're like, there's a Death Valley over there in the background. It's like, wait a minute, they're not too far from Vegas. Oh, they go to gamble in Vegas. Yeah, maybe they think the Luxor Pyramid in Vegas is actually like they did in Transformers. When they filmed the Transformers Dark of the second one, Fallen, Revenge of the Fallen, and it was filmed in first of all filmed in Vegas, and they made it look like it was the Great Pyramid, but it was Vegas. And then forgot Israel was there, and or Jordan. It skipped from Jordan to yeah, it was kind of in the way between Jordan and the other one. On their way to Egypt, they skipped through Israel. And Spielberg produced that, so he should have known. Anyway, so then all the geography's mixed up. Maybe in that world, the geography's mixed up. Yeah, and they have well, F. Murray Abrams as the moon god, chewing scenery. There's a giant floating bird skull, and yeah, and there's weird connections to Starship Vanguard, Starcrackers there, because that's the bird skull. That's the Techite god is apparently Khonshu, which is interesting. They have a Techite god, the bird skull. They were so in that series, I didn't know at the time. I just thought it would be funny if the Techites were worshiping a bird skull in the 90s when I wrote that scene, and I didn't realize that it was an Egyptian thing. Even though I probably was influenced by having gone to the San Jose Rosicrucian Museum, and I thought that would be funny. So I did actually kind of vaguely know, yeah, it's an Egyptian thing. I just threw it in there, because their cultures are all mixed up. Yeah, Raxler is European and something else. That kind of thing. Something else. Names like Raxler and Sadre and Azeloth and Asloth. Asloth became a gamer name later on, so games adopted the name Asloth. They got it from us in the 90s because well, the internet didn't come about really take off until 96 or 97, 4 years after Starcrackers, which became Space Vanguards much later. So they knew. So somebody, knew. Also, Asloth is a cool sounding name. Sort of like Terrellian is a cool sounding name. It's one of those names that's from Mark's Cards, and I thought of in high school, and Mark's Cards mainly. And Star Trek immediately used the next day on the show. So, like, oh yeah, Terrellians. They kept saying Terrellian over and over again. Terrellian. I thought he was just paying homage to Star Trek 2, where the guy's name was Terrell, and he was just saying Terrellian because he thought it would be funny. I thought that's where he got it, and maybe he did. Then they're getting it from the same source they're getting it from Star Trek 2. Same thing with Kirk biting an apple, similar to the apple being tossed up and down. Just using the natural progression of what the apple does. But Star Trek TNG used that too. And in this case with Moon Knight, he didn't. Moon Knight has an odd idea that doesn't work, that I said in the last review. That I mean, it does work as a series, as a show, as a fun thing. But in that universe, trauma can lead to multiple personality DoD, but not in that case, not in the way they did it in this. It's not the same thing as people with a kid with imaginary friends or something. It's not the same thing. That's just, but yeah, so, yeah, but I'm not a psychologist expert or anything like that. Yeah, but it didn't really make sense in the movie that his superpower is he's got a mental illness is disingenuous. It's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have superpowers. But there's a super butt-kicking bad guy at the end. And stay for the end credits to see the third guy and the nod to the third comic book, which is featured at the end. So stay for the end credits. The perdition thing. Yeah, spoiler. There's a scene in another asylum, space asylum thing. And then there's. I'm not going to give away the ending just in case you see it. If I say anything about how the ending goes, everybody will know the ending. It's ambiguous. Let's say ambiguous, but also makes sense because he's split personality. It totally makes sense. For once, a Marvel movie that ends with it's like, oh yeah, okay, that would be and, yeah. No, I did catch there's a goldfish scene. I will mention there's a goldfish scene. There was one goldfish in the beginning. There were two at the end. Ooh, I will mention that. I did catch that. So that's not what the ending is though. Ooh, two goldfish. Yeah, so that was Moon Knight, episode 6, which is merely called episode 6. They forgot to label it on the streaming thing. I'm sure it wasn't called episode 6. I'm sure it had a name. They just didn't put up the title yet. Yeah, so this will be a review altogether of all 3 of them. The 3 last episodes. There were 3 episodes that I reviewed earlier, and these will be the 3 all together. Moon Knight. I have not seen Hawkeye and have no reason to, really. Understand that in that one the Kingpin shows up. It's like, that's it? Gee, the Kingpin shows up. Great. But soon, we'll be on the reviews channel. We'll be reviewing Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness. That'd be funny. The Multiverse of Madness. They like madness in their titles. Well, it's clearly an allusion to the Mountains of Madness, which is the Cronin Lovecraftian thing, but also to the multiverse. It's just getting really convoluted. It's getting really convoluted. Yeah, it's going to get like really hard to follow after a while. I burped at the end. Anyway.